Okay, so I'm just double checking that we are live. Yes, it looks like we are. So, hello, gorgeous ladies, and how are you doing today? How's your weekend been? What have you been up to? I would love to hear. And if you're here watching live, then just let us know in the comments. You can say hashtag your name or you can just say hi. I would love to hear. I would love to have this conversation with you in real time. Okay. And if you are watching this on the replay, then just give us a little cheeky hashtag replay. And that way I know who's here. That way we can spread this message as far within the community as we can. So this is such an important topic. This is such an important video that I'm doing today, because what we're doing is we are taking a look, we're shining the spotlight on a dynamic that is so common, not only in our community, but in the wider community. And especially I find in heteronormative relationships where there is a man and a woman, and we're going to get into that in a little bit. What we're talking about today is, what do we do if we find ourselves in a relationship where our partner is not pulling their weight in the relationship? So what does that mean? It means your partner is not looking after the relationship to the degree that you are. You might feel like you are taking on more responsibility to make sure that you both are feeling connected, that you're both being intimate, that you're both feeling satisfied. You might feel like you are the person who has been left to be in control of making sure that your relationship is really great. So you might feel like your labor of love is kind of disproportionate to how much you're getting from your partner. It may also be in a it might also go beyond your relationship, right? So if you are married, if you have kids, or if you share a life together, it may be that you feel like you are responsible for a lot of the management of your day-to-day living. It might be that you feel your partner is not stepping up to take that equal role in the management of your life and in your relationship. So, sister, if that is you, let me know in the comments. Give me a little hands up, or just say, this is me, or this has been me in the past. And just for a little disclaimer, for those who don't know me quite so well, this is absolutely my history. This is my story. My experience has been being in relationships in the past where I held most of the responsibility, where I didn't feel like things were equal. So why is this a challenge? Well, this is a challenge because when you are holding most of that weight yourself, there starts to be a feeling of resentment that creeps in the relationship. You might be very familiar with that feeling already. There can be a sense of, I kind of feel like I'm alone in this and I'm not feeling supported. So what can you do, sister, if you are in this situation, or if you've been in this situation in the past and you don't want to repeat it in your next relationship? What can you do if your partner is not pulling their weight? Now, my answer might be slightly challenging for you, Okay. And this is the way that we reclaim our power. So, what I'm going to ask you to do is to first of all acknowledge to yourself that you are over functioning. Okay. So we can get so fixated on looking at our partner and the way that they're under functioning that we stop taking responsibility of our part in the dynamic. And the truth is, the only way your partner is capable of under functioning is because you over function. So the first step to breaking this pattern, to creating more of an equal footing, is for you to actually acknowledge that this is something that I do. This is something I've chosen to do, is to overfunction in my relationship. Okay. And how does that ownership feel for you? As you take ownership of your part in the dynamic, what does that do for you? I'd love to hear. Okay, so the step 2, after you've taken ownership of your part, is to take a little look, to go back in time, to look over your history and to see when it was that your overfunctioning began. Because I have a sneaky suspicion, sister, that your overfunctioning did not begin in this relationship. Okay, so as much as we want to blame our partner and to look at everything that they're doing wrong, and that might well be very true, we can also acknowledge that this is a pattern that we have taken on from well before we met our partner. So I know for me, my pattern of overfunctioning was born when I was a child, because I was a parentified child. I was a child who had to look after her mother emotionally. So I learned at a really young age that the way to love someone and the way to get someone to love you is to look after them and to be needed by them. Okay. So overfunctioning for me came well back in childhood, and it was a habit that I brought into my adult relationships. So I would love to give that back to you, sister, and to say, when did your habit of overfunctioning, when did that begin for you? Okay, and as we start to fill in the gaps in this story, we start to see that this is really not a problem. This is not a partner problem. This is a dynamic, right? Your partner's doing their part, but you're also coming in and doing your part. So the third step, once you know where this behavior came from for you, once you know when it was that you learned to overfunction and that overfunctioning equals love, the third and final step, and this is going to be the challenging part, is to start to step back from your overfunctioning. Okay. So as I say that, just notice if anything comes up, any, what's the word that I'm looking for? Any beliefs that are coming up that tell you, well, I can't let go of this, because if I let go of this, then X, Y, Z is going to happen. And what I want to say to you, gorgeous lady, is that as much as we may believe that the world hinges on our shoulders, that things live or die by our efforts. I really want to challenge that belief. I want to challenge that idea. And I want to ask you, what would happen if you stopped over functioning and you started functioning? What would happen? Would the world crumble around you, or would you create some space in your relationship for your partner to come forward and to start bridging that gap together? I would love to hear. And what you can even do is you can even bring this to your partner in a completely non-judgmental way, and you can say, I've realized this about myself, sweetheart, or whatever it is that you call your partner. I've realized that I have a habit of overfunctioning because that's what I learned when I was a child. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to unlearn that, and I'm going to take a step back this week or this month, and this is how I'm going to do that. And that could be a really interesting conversation that you have with your partner. So what do you do if you have a partner who is not pulling their weight? Well, you start looking at yourself, and you start looking at your ownership in this situation, why it is that you've chosen this situation, and you decide to do something differently. I would love to hear how this resonates with you. I would love to hear if this is helpful for you. If you have any questions about how you can step back, or any kind of practical questions like that, feel free to leave them in the comments, and I would be super happy to address them in a future video. So I hope you're well. I hope you're having an amazing weekend. Gorgeous soul sister. Oh, and final thing, if you would like to work more on building that intimacy, where you're not in that parent-child dynamic, but you're actually equals, and you're feeling that that intimacy that comes from being equals, then feel free to join my intimacy course. We are going to be going into this in so much more detail. I'm going to be helping you to let go of the habits that are no longer working for you. Okay. So yes, I will leave it at that. I hope you're having an amazing weekend, and I will talk with you very, very soon. Mwah!